I need continual technological instruction here, so bear with me. Black and White Men Together was born in 1980 through an advertisement in The Advocate, from which developed a series of free newsletters put out by BWMT founder Mike Smith of San Francisco. In response to the newsletter's call, groups sprang up all over the United States in mid-1980, from San Francisco and Los Angeles to Kansas City, Chicago, Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston, among others. Common activities were socials as well as raps. From the start, the appropriate role of political activism vis-a-vis social interaction was always an issue. The first national BWMT convention was held the following summer, 1981, at the Casa Loma Hotel at Fell and Fillmore in San Francisco. We would have had a picture of the Casa Loma, but it had a fire several months ago, and when I went to take a picture of it, I decided it was kind of indecipherable. So no picture of the Casa Loma, but if you're in San Francisco, you can go see it. It's still there in its shell. 300 people attended the convention, including from right to left, Dr. John Bush of Boston, Charles Stewart of Los Angeles, who was to become one of the first two national co-chairs, along with Henry Weemhoff of New York, who unfortunately is not pictured. We don't have a picture of him. And on the left is Jerry Mallon of Philadelphia. So it's Jerry Mallon, Charles Stewart, and of course John Bush. Mallon and Stewart, shown here on a boat cruise during the 1990 San Francisco convention, played vital early roles. Mallon in organizing the first elections and bylaws, and later becoming the second white co-chair of what was then called the International Association of BWMT. And Stewart as co-chair doing outreach across the country, raising issues of racism and homophobia both within and without the gay and lesbian community. A.S. Billy Jones of Washington, D.C. was an early co-chair as conventions were held in Washington, D.C. in 1982 and Columbus, Ohio in 1983. And in Columbus, a health issues committee was created to help deal with sexually transmitted diseases, hepatitis, and increasingly HIV/AIDS. I might add that Billy Jones came to the convention last year. I don't know if some of you who hadn't known him before met him, but he was there. That was his first appearance at one of our conventions. No, I'm sorry. He was at the anniversary celebration in D.C. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, John Bush has been with the organization from the beginning, although this picture may, I wasn't there when he came, but this picture just may have predated his entry into the NA. I'm sorry he's not here. Actually, I don't think I was ever supposed to see this picture, but he gave me a whole bunch of photos, and John sometimes turns things over en masse, you know, they're not all sorted, and I found this, and I thought it was quite interesting. Here he is, as we probably remember him more. This was probably taken back in the mid-'80s.
Milwaukee.
Was it? Right. And this is John with his lover Nelson Rivera in the middle, and Jerry Mallon. At the Atlanta Convention in 1984, and I know, Tim, you weren't elected, you tell me, at the convention, but you did become co-chair shortly thereafter. John and Tim Wilson, who will be one of our panelists today, of Denver, then of Denver, later of Los Angeles, later of Denver, later of Portland. I've forgotten, it's hard to follow. They became co-chairs, and they were co-chairs the next 2 years. Tim more recently. Well, John Bush was the driving force behind expanding the 4 national officers, which we then had, the 2 co-chairs, the secretary and treasurer. He was the driving force behind expanding those 4 national officers into a full board of directors, which occurred at the Los Angeles Convention in 1985. Now, at that convention, the New York chapter sent a large delegation. This includes Charles Brack, On the left, Mitchell Karp with the first halo. Queenie, who was a member of the Los Angeles chapter. I don't know how she got in with New York. You never know. James Creedle with the second halo, and Steve Feedback with the third halo. And in front is Lydell Jackson.
All right.
L.A. 1985. Nelson. Now, if any of you know the person on the far left, you can tell us immediately. But starting from the second is Nelson Rivera, Skip White of both Louisville and Detroit, Bobby Moore of Memphis, and Michael Fu of San Francisco. This was some kind of a panel discussion at the LA convention.
The guy on the left is from New York City. I forget his name, but he's from New York.
New York?
Chapter.
Okay.
Yeah, he was editor of the New York paper for years. I forgot his name.
Yeah, I saw him recently, but yeah, his name.
Oh,
He's got his name badge on there. Can you just
Thank you. Thank you. Would you like to go up and inspect that for us?
with your glasses there?
Oh, that's digital. You should be able to zoom in.
This is John Meehan and Leonard Bost of Philadelphia.
CSI.
Leonard was one of the first board of directors. Incidentally, we're going to show a lot of directors and former directors, and I'm not going to identify all of them as directors, so if you're up there and you don't get identified, or some friend of yours doesn't, don't feel offended. But Leonard was one of the first directors. Well, now, Leonard's on the right, John Meehan is on the left, both from Philadelphia. Well, a major feature of the LA convention was the pool party at the home of Jacques Berdot, one of our local members. It was quite secluded. This picture, I don't think, captures the fact that a number of our Eastern guests felt obliged to take off all their clothes. You know, take them to a hot climate, and you just never know.
Is that Al Benvenuti over there in New York?
No, I don't.
Actually, that is Al in the pool, though.
I don't think. No, I don't think Al was coming to the convention center.
Okay,
Anyway.
we'll move on.
Well, as I said, it was a highlight, and it featured, of course, always at center stage, Dr. Bush. He actually did a dance at this convention too, sort of a mating dance, but we didn't capture it. Stephen Matchett of San Francisco. Kalu Lester, his partner, and Jerry Boyle of San Francisco, who
Jerry looks so good.
who is still coming to conventions.
Has Jerry seen this picture?
No, and fortunately he hasn't arrived yet. Well, maybe not fortunately, I don't know. Anyway, he'll get a chance. This is, I guess that's Frank Federico with his back to us of Milwaukee.
No, it's not.
It's not? Okay.
No, it's what's his name?
Well, that's, anyway, that is Lee Erickson facing us of Seattle and later Baltimore, and Don Ransom of Philadelphia side, and I do not know the other people at the moment, at least. Well, following the Los Angeles convention, the first meeting of the new board of directors took place near Milwaukee in the fall of 1985. I can identify all of them if you would like. This will be brief, but just in case you're wondering.
Watch the board.
Stephen Fisher of Boston, Erwin Rothenberg, then of Memphis, Tom Horan of San Francisco, Bob Doyle of Atlanta, Stephen Matchett of San Francisco, Ollie Lee Taylor.
Tom was from L.A. at that point. Tom Moran.
No, he hadn't moved to L.A. till the next year.
Oh, it's the other direction? Okay.
Yeah. Ollie Lee Taylor, Leonard Bost of Philadelphia, John Bush, Gavin Morrow Hall, who will facilitate today's panel discussion, Bruce Pennington. Gavin was then from Los Angeles. Bruce Pennington of Washington, D.C., Wendell Roberson of Chicago, Tim Wilson, Redver Jean-Marie of New York, Larry Darby of Seattle, and Howard Gibson of Los Angeles.
And missing was Ken Peters.
Right. He'll be in a picture shortly. He probably took the picture.
No, I took that picture.
Oh, did you?
Oh.
Well, all right. And here's Redver Jean-Marie with John Bush.
That's the time when John was presented with the Del Pasqueva Spirit Award.
which was named in honor of a member of the Milwaukee chapter who had been killed the year before in a very unfortunate robbery or whatever it was. And had always been a very spirited person and led, and the award was named after him. It was an award created by the Milwaukee chapter.
And Dell was responsible for the first memorial service that we
Right. Colin Gibson in the background, Wendell Roberson, Gavin, Redvers, and Michael Lazowski of Milwaukee. Gavin.
As a youth.
Gavin was so young when he came into the LA chapter. He was there even before I was. I think we had to change some sort of rule to allow him to come to our meetings where they
You had to
served
be
liquor.
21 to be a member, and I started attending meetings when I was 20 years old.
Ken Peters of Milwaukee.
5 years ago.
All right.
Stephen Fisher, Boston. Actually, he lived in Providence. Wendell Roberson, Chicago, who was the secretary. And Stephen Matchett and Palou Lester. During the 1986 convention in New York, we marched in the Gay Pride Parade down Fifth Avenue from Central Park to Washington Square. Bayard Rustin, who spoke to us at the LA convention the year before, marched with us, but we don't have him in this picture. You can see Irwin there in that picture, and Tom Horan, who was later co-chair. Actually, he was elected co-chair that year along with James Friedel, is at the far right, just to the left of that little white flag. This is the Connecticut contingent. Stevie Martin, who was then Stevie Martin before he became Stevie Martin Chester, was the sort of the head of that delegation before he moved to Philadelphia. But he's not in this picture. These are shots outside Union Theological Seminary where the convention was held. We used the dorms at Columbia, but we met at the Union, which was right next door. See Mike Smith there with his arms crossed in the front. See Ken Peters and Colin Gibson and John McDonnell and a number of other people. There's Tim. Irwin holding forth.
Can you all hear in the back what he's saying?
I see musical instruments. I don't think he was singing.
Those the bongos.
Oh, it's the bongos. I'm sorry. And then we have always center stage, and of course he gave me many of these photos. We have John Bush prepping.
Oh my God.
And performing.
Snap it up in front of the organ.
Damn.
This is the Black Caucus in New York. By this time, separate caucuses had already become a regular part of conventions.
There's Madam X.
Yep. And there's at least one person from the Grupo Gay de Bahia. There were
Low
two at
Rand,
the convention, and I'm not
There's David Morris.
one of them, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Both of them are together.
Right there in that tangent, second from the left.
Yeah. The shorts.
Mm.
Yeah.
Here's Madam X.
Here, let's see. We'll take a second here, but we can't take too long. There's Madam X. There's Lowrant. There's John. James Friedel. I guess that's Ollie.
Lydell Jackson.
There's
Yeah,
David
Blue.
Morris. Where's Blue up here?
No clue.
No Blue in the front,
Next
right?
to James.
Next to
Oh,
James.
right here.
There's Michael Poole.
Michael Cruz in the back and the center.
Oh, yeah. I'm here.
Andre Gillard is attending his first convention right there as well. Andre's right next to him.
This is the caucus again. These were the years when the when the White Caucus felt obliged almost to show a little emotion in order to compete. I think after a while we just gave up. Here's the White Caucus. Calm, and that's my back, in fact, in front. I'm having trouble identifying some of the others there, but
Tom Robinson.
that's Mitchell Carp on the left with the
Green shirt.
green shirt. Mitchell was from New York and was an early and very important member of the organization for his legal and general commitment expertise, and we really miss him.
He was responsible for getting the 501c3.
And also some of the early diversity, you know.
We think this is a people of color caucus. We're not sure.
It is.
And the New York banquet, which featured West Indian cuisine.
And alcohol-free, I recall.
Yes, yes. Well, following the New York convention, the board of directors next met in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Let's see, do I want to do this one more time? Can't keep doing this. Tom Horan, Francis Gibson, then of Cleveland, Bruce Pennington, James Creedle, Gavin, Melvin Ross of Atlanta, Stephen Matchett, Bob Addison of Louisville, Michael Warner, then of Indianapolis, Erwin Rothenberg, Reggie Williams of San Francisco, first executive director of the task force. We'll get to that in a minute. Ollie Lee Taylor, Don Ransom, Wendell Roberson, Stephen Durrell of Los Angeles, and Steve Feedback of New York.
And didn't Steve move later to San Francisco?
Yes.
And now lives in Los Angeles.
Okay.
James Creedle. This was taken a little more recently, I think, in New York. James Creedle and Tom Horan were elected co-chairs of the organization at the New York convention and served for the next 2 years. Here's Tom. Bob Addison of Louisville on the left was elected treasurer, shown with Mickey Fritchie of Chicago. And we apologize for the misspelling of Mickey's name. It ends with an E. That is the City Hall in Milwaukee, where the 1987 convention was held, and I hope you can all see that. It says, "Welcome NABWMT Convention 1987."
How hard was that to do?
What is that?
How hard was that to do to get them to do
Alan Hess had petitioned through his alderman to get a common council to pass the resolution in place of that clause.
We traveled south that year to walk in the Chicago Gay Pride Parade.
Looks like James Creedle back in the Beyonce beat.
I won't even try. Tom Horan, Michael Warner. That's Irwin.
Looks like Patrick.
That's
Henry.
Alan Hess. You'll see him in a minute. He was the
It does look
convention
like Patrick
co-chair.
Henry.
I know I'm going to trip if I keep doing this. There's Alan Hess, who was co-chair of the convention from Milwaukee. And Alan Hess, along with one of our speakers, and if anyone remembers who this is, I do not
He's the
know.
state legislature that got the first gay rights law passed in the nation in Wisconsin passed, chief speaker, as to how to go through and get gay rights legislation passed. I can't remember his name right now.
Do we have the programs from that convention?
Yeah. Okay, I will try to supplement that at some later point. Ken and Peters.
Where was he from?
These are all Milwaukee people. These are all the convention committee. You may recognize these people. They're in the room today. For any of you who haven't been introduced, Michael Ross and D.A. Leonard.
And what do you call that hair? A jury girl.
Many appropriate side to that.
Quentin Jameson of Milwaukee, who is also here.
I think Clint's in the room, isn't he?
I don't know if he's in the room.
No, I guess not. He was coming up.
Michael Lisowski of Milwaukee with Bobby Smith of Los Angeles. And Frank Federico of Milwaukee, longtime talent show performer. Well, Thomas Kochman was an academic who gave a workshop on his book, Black and White Styles in Conflict, which I think we still have some copies of.
It was the whole day session.
Yeah. That, and his book is in our archives, if you ever get there. And then the keynote address at the banquet was delivered by Joseph Beam. This was only about 6 months before he died. And it was quite a provocative address that capped a week of tumult and divisiveness, which was centered mainly around the name change debate. Well, a new board of directors was elected in Milwaukee and included, let me stand here to do this, front row, Ollie Lee Taylor, Bob Addison, Mitchell Karp with the beard of New York, Nelson Rivera of Boston, David Lott of Louisville, Don Moses of Youngstown, John Teemer of San Francisco, and Gavin. And in the back, Michael Warner of Indianapolis, James Treadle, and...
Ransom.
Is that Don Ransom of Philadelphia? Yeah. This is the Los Angeles chapter. You can identify, along with Lowrand, who somehow got in the picture. He always got around. That's Bobby Smith, Colin Gibson, Kevin Jones, Phil Wilson, fourth from the left, Leopold, Renee Seidel, who I think most of you remember, who was on the board, and then I'm there. And Michael Smith.
Is that, Walt Barrable?
Yes, that is Walt Barrable. Yes, I'm sorry. From Detroit.
Yeah.
Francis Gibson, then of Cleveland, and David Lott of Louisville. They were both on the board. John Pugh of Cleveland. Sorry about the quality of that. John, as many of you know, left a substantial amount of money in trust to the NA to facilitate his main concern, which was the discrimination response system.
Discrimination of what?
Discrimination response system. Ed Dillard of Memphis, Michael Warner, now of Memphis, they were partners, and Madam X, Leroy Scott of Detroit.
The one behind
And that's
Leroy and
Carl?
Michael is from Chicago.
That's Carl from Chicago and Joe
Carl.
Libanowski from Chicago.
Carl, okay, let's... Right. Madam X and Low Rent. For any of you that haven't been introduced to Low Rent, I don't know if he's here. This is Paul Sears of Detroit. This is a name you'll, if you haven't figured out how he got it, just stick around.
But not under any bright lights.
Rodney Horde and Milton Carpentier of Louisville, a long time couple that came to every convention until, I guess, the last 2 years when Rodney became rather ill. But we hope they'll come again. Paul Sears again, and Don Moses of Youngstown. Don and I did the awards 15 years ago. Way back. Don was one of the original people who helped create the awards committee and the manual that we try to use but don't always follow. And Don was instrumental, and he was on the board and was also very active in the Youngstown chapter and in the Midland Regional. Nate O'Neill of Philadelphia. Tim Wilson again.
Love those glasses.
We have-
Oh, do you
Well,
love your glasses?
The other two people in this picture are Craig Jackson, Miss Charmaine of Boston, and Matt Brosius of Washington, D.C.
Now living in Paris.
Oh, really? All right, we have here from right to left, Tom Horan. I do not know the lady's name. Ed Dillard. I'm sorry, left to right. I can't.
She was the director of the Milwaukee AIDS Project at the time. She was an RN, but I can't remember her name.
Ed Dillard of Memphis, Gavin, and I guess.
Is that Mark Baker?
Mark Behar.
Mark Baker, yeah.
Okay.
Is he a chapter member?
Milwaukee.
Yes, Mark. He's the one that arranged the beer tasting for the convention.
And the lady was the head of what?
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee AIDS Project. She was an RN, but I can't remember her name. Yeah, she's full.
Yeah.
Even though Tim Wilson says we didn't have any females at our convention.
Jim Ivory of San Francisco, who, I don't know if I saw him this morning, I don't know if he's here. And John McDonald of San Francisco, who came to every convention, both of them, with John until he died. Craig Jackson
David
again.
Thompson was in the background in that last picture also.
Okay, sorry. Of Boston, Craig. And John Bush talking to Mark Mitchell of Kansas City. I do not know who the man in the center is.
He's from Kansas City also.
Mark was
Determined mind.
Mark was Douglas. Mark was
mustard gas pains. And
one of the chairs of the strategic planning committee at House of Delegates.
Right. John reminds me that Mark was one of the chairs of the strategic planning committee that led to the creation of, well, not the House of Delegates was there, but the speakers. When we got speakers in the House of Delegates who later became, well, we no longer have them because the House of Delegates became the general membership meeting. But there was a House of Delegates with speakers for about 10 years. Well, Milwaukee, 1987, marked the end of what we have chosen, and you can do anything you want with it, but what we have chosen to call the first phase of NABWT, the years of change and the years of tumult. And at this point, Les will take over and continue. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. I missed a picture. This is the White Caucus in Milwaukee. As usual. Hey, don't walk on my lines. You do it all the time. A very lively bunch. John McDonald, Craig Jackson. Darn, who is that?
Martin Lee Cohen from New York.
From New York. Mitchell Karp, Lee Erickson, and Bruce Pennington.
Where was Lee from?
Lee was, well, he was from Seattle originally, and then he moved to Baltimore. That's right. So, now I will repeat. Milwaukee at 1987 marked, really, we've divided this into three phases. And in the first phase, we've chosen to end at 1987 when the organization really almost came apart over the name change debate. But there were certainly years of creativity and change and activity and probably the highest level of energy we had in the organization, and a lot of political activism. But that really sort of ended in Milwaukee, and we entered a period of sort of consolidation. But at this point, Les will continue.
Okay, thank you, Doug. The fallout and near coming apart of the organization over the name change seemed to lead to a period of some healing and consolidation in the following years. Also, the specter of AIDS, especially in neglected people of color communities, was becoming an increasing concern of the organization. Local BWMT chapters in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and Memphis have been engaged in AIDS education and prevention work, and at the Boston Convention in 1988, the NA chose, I'll do it.
Yeah, no.
John Teemer from San Francisco as one of the co-chairs, and Michael Warner of Memphis, Indianapolis as the other co-chair. And here's another picture of Michael. And we formally established the National Task Force on AIDS Prevention with Reggie Williams as its director. And here is the task force banner that was carried in the Chicago Gay Parade. And I might mention that on the AIDS Task Force, I was one of the original members on that, and I think Irwin was on it, Gavin, and who else here was members of the original?
Tim Wilson.
Oh, and John and Tim. Okay. And really, I didn't get involved. My first convention was the '87 convention in Milwaukee, and I left that convention. It was a wonderful convention, but I had a lot of concerns after I left, saying, I don't know. But I'm still here. Here's a picture of me and Tim Isbell of San Francisco. And again, as Doug mentioned before, unfortunately, we have few, if any, photos of the 1988 Boston Convention or the 1990 San Francisco Convention, 1994 Washington, D.C., or 1997 Charlotte. So if we do celebrate a 50th anniversary video, maybe by then we'll get some more photos. We won't be able to see them, though.
Speak for yourself.
The 1989 convention in Tallahassee had Ollie Lee Taylor as the co-chair, and this was held at Florida State University.
Ken Allen, Don Moses.
Ken Allen and Don Moses Clancy, yes. And here's John leading his spirited in a song.
Which he composed and wrote and leads.
And which you'll all have a
And
chance
will
to
lead.
sing again.
We hope.
And as always, the House of Delegates met to set the general policy and to elect the board of
Is that
directors.
Dan Newton's and stuff?
Yes,
Yes.
that's the. This is just a shot of a group that was in Tallahassee, part of
Lee, what's Lee's last? Lee Wood. Thank you.
the legal.
Next to Walt. Who's the guy in the Napa green shirt with the...
That's Don Ransom.
That's Don Ransom.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's David Housel, isn't it? It is.
David Housel.
I like Luke George. David Housel was in the
Oh, that was Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yes.
I don't know which one they're talking about, is David House.
Yeah, because that's Walt.
Oh, it's next to Nelson, right?
Oh,
To the right of Nelson.
Oh,
After
okay.
Nelson.
That's before he had more hair than that.
Yes,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
You're right.
Quite a bit.
Here's Steve Feedback from New York, and he was a central figure in the National Task Force on AIDS Prevention.
He wrote the grant to the CDC to start the task force. He found it.
How much was that grant?
600,000, isn't it?
It was $800,000 over 4 years, so $200,000 a year.
Here's a shot of the AIDS quilt that was on display at the Tallahassee Convention. The Tallahassee Convention included an outing to Wakula Springs. This is the New York contingent in Tallahassee.
That's across the top, George Mayo, Eric Perez, I don't know the woman, James Treadle, and Don Ransom in front.
Don's from Philly.
Right, but he participated a lot in New York.
There's Gavin, getting ready for his workshop, I guess.
Actually, that was taken this morning. He was preparing for today's event.
1989 also marked the United States trip of Simon Nicoli, a South African AIDS activist, a trip that was arranged by James Creedle. He made several appearances across the country. This happened to be his appearance in Chicago, and Simon is on the right. Paul Fetzick from Chicago, one of the Chicago co-chairs at the time, and also Don
Booker. On the left.
Yeah, Don, yes, on the left.
Paul's in the middle.
And,
Right.
and Simon's the one featured in the documentary this week, Simon and I. That's who that's about. Also, his name doesn't have the first I, it's just N-K.
Right. It's Nkoli.
Yeah.
Our 10th convention was held in 1990, was again in San Francisco, and this time it was at San Francisco State, and here is the White Caucus meeting.
John Peel's standing off by himself towards the front, right, left. Yeah.
Yes, with his arms folded.
That's one of the better pictures of John Peel.
Unfortunately, that's our only picture of San Francisco.
I know. Doug, I gotta talk to you.
I know.
The 1991 convention was held in Detroit, and it featured a pool party at Al Benvenuti's home. Shown here are Homer Adams, Reggie Williams from San Francisco, the head of the National Task Force on AIDS Prevention, George Clements from San Francisco, and John Pugh from Cleveland,
James Ivory.
James Ivory, and
Craig Jackson.
Craig Jackson. Eddie Kemp from San Diego. Paul Cloutier, John Williams. They recruited the hotel staff, and Craig Beardsley from Chicago.
Oh my.
Same group with Irwin, with Paul Cloutier, Irwin, Craig Beardsley, and who's that clown?
Who's that crazy?
And Doug Noble. Al Benvenuti played Rhapsody in Blue. And I misspelled Gershwin. Yes, we know. I worked on this late in the night. The famous N.A. No Talent
Why don't you
show.
go back?
Oh,
Click the head.
oh, okay.
I don't know why it did it.
It went by itself.
Yeah.
With
That is no rent.
That's no rent, and low rent. Michael
No
Butler
rent.
and Paul Sears. Michael Butler was involved. There are no words. Frank Federico sang. Other convention attendees included Erwin Rothenberg, Pose Man Pose, Lee Wu,
Of San Francisco East Bay.
yes, Jim Reinhardt of Omaha, Vincent Henderson, and Preston Pulliam of Dallas. Charmaine of Boston, also known as Craig Jackson. George Mayo, and then misspelled his name too.
New York.
From New York. The LA chapter, Paul, Doug, John, Lester, is it?
Les
What?
Amer.
Les Amer, and Ron Trosper.
Who was really a member at large, right?
Right, he was from Arizona. He was later the a recording secretary of the NA.
Jerry Mallon,
This was Jerry's last convention in Detroit.
Duncan Teague of Atlanta.
Supermodel.
Robert Dingle from Washington, D.C. Douglas Noble and Reggie Williams.
What convention was this?
Detroit. Reggie Williams was presented the NA Lifetime Achievement Award by co-chair John Teamer. This is the 1991 Board of Directors elected in Detroit. Anybody new? No.
Well, we can,
Well,
Robert Williams.
right to left, front row. Michael Warner, Michael Lazowski, Paul Sears, Ken Allen of Chicago. I'm next. Robert Williams, then of D.C. Ron Trosper. Top row, Robert Peterson of Youngstown, Jim Reinhardt of Omaha, Ali, Craig Housel of David Housel of New York, Francis Gibson, then of D.C., Lee Wu, and Al Benvenuti of Detroit.
and over to the left, you might see, is that Alan McCord and James's partner?
Young Herman Winkler.
Yes.
James Creedle's partner, for those of you.
Co-chair Bob Williams of D.C. along with Preston Pulliam from Dallas.
Is that Dallas or Detroit?
This
This
is
is
still Detroit.
Detroit. That's Bob Williams again. Al Benvenuti, co-chair from Detroit. Ron Trosper from Arizona, who was recording secretary. Directed David Housel.
He was also on the strategic planning, long-range planning committee, as we call it.
Right. 1991 Gay Pride Parade. We threw that in as 91.
Yeah, you go to 119.
The 1992 convention was held in Dallas, and here's a pre-convention visit to the local Dickey's barbecue pit.
We can briefly, there's John Spear, Renee Seidel of L.A., Paul Cloutier, Bruce Menapace in the front. I don't know who that is in back, but Jim Reinhardt front, I'm there, John Bush, and Jim Terrell of Washington, D.C., who was treasurer, I think at the time, or maybe later, of the National.
And the House of Delegates met with co-speakers for the first time.